In this video, we're going to be looking over this Olympus Infinity Stylus Epic Zoom 80 35mm film camera. This is the version with the quartz date, and I'm going to be selling this camera, and so I'm demonstrating it here, hopefully showing you all the things that you would want to see if you were holding this in your own hands and checking out the condition of it. And hopefully it'll also be useful to people who just have one of these cameras or are interested in having one and want to see what's involved in using one. So let's get started. I have a type 123 battery, and the first step is to insert that, and then I do have a scrap roll of film, and we'll run that through and we'll demonstrate a bunch of the functions. So okay, to get started loading the battery, there's a place right here in the bottom where we can pull this edge out and open this door, and we can see the battery compartment's nice and clean. And we take this type 123 battery and drop in there with the positive facing down, snap the door shut, and we heard some things happen in the camera here. And so the next step would be to load the film. Now we can do that by opening this end of the camera, and we just lift that latch up and the door pops out like that. Before we put the film in, let's just look at the inside here. I see some really nice looking optics right here. There's some lenses way on the interior of this camera that look pretty impressive. And then we've got the contacts in there that will read the ASA, or as more commonly known now, the ISO value of the film off of the canister, if it's encoded into it like it is usually now. And this surface all looks very nice and smooth and clean and free of any cracks. And then that surface is what's met up with by this gasket here to form the light seals, and that is also very nice and pliable. It feels really good over here. A little bit of foam right here by this window, and that feels just fine. So I would say cosmetically and mechanically so far the camera looks very, very good. We'll take this scrap roll of film, drop the canister in on that side, and feed the tail over into this end. And there's a little orange marking in there that indicates where you're supposed to put that tail, so we'll just get that around the corner a little bit, and yeah, to make sure it stays there while we close the door. So there we go. Now we can close the door. Want to hear that snap and hear the motor running. Okay, and it stopped. So now if we turn the camera on by pulling back on this lens cover, we see there's a flashing E. So what that tells us is that the film didn't load properly, and I probably didn't have that tail quite far enough into that area. So I'm going to just adjust that again. Okay, now I'm going to close the camera. Okay, now let's open it. That time it did it, because now we see picture number 1. So now we know that the film is properly feeding in through and across to the take-up spool. And while we have it here in this position, let's note that when we turned it on, the lens extended out, and it extended out to the widest angle setting here. The flash popped up, and we can, with the zoom control here, now we can go from the wide to the telephoto. You can see how far that lens goes up. Okay, and now if we just point this at, just point it off here, and we'll watch the flash. The flash worked. There is also a red eye setting for the flash. So let's go in here and set, now we've got the red eye flash. And this is for if you're taking pictures of people or pets and you want the pupils dilated and not looking big and red. This will help with that. Yes, you saw the flash flicker and put out a lot of light before it actually took the picture. And we can also set this to no flash. And we can also set it to what you call a forced flash. If you want the flash to go off no matter what, maybe you're taking a picture of somebody against a bright background and you want to light them up, then you want to use the flash, because otherwise the metering in the camera might just perceive the light coming from the background and say it's enough, and you'll get the person looking like a shadow. So it's very helpful to have that. But I'm going to shut the flash off. Here we've got it off, just to save the battery and to not work the flash here. Let's try out the self timer. That is right here. It's a little button there. I should point out that strung onto the strap is a tiny little tool that can be useful for pushing some of these little buttons. So let's try that on this. Okay, so now we see right here, it's got a little timer icon and a little picture of that's supposed to be a remote control. Might not look like one, but that's what it is. This camera apparently works with some remotes. I don't have anything like that, but if you have one, it's supposed to be compatible with certain ones. But so now that it's set for the self timer, we'll set this out here, point this back at us, and actuate the shutter button here. We see a little red light came on right here, and eventually it will start flashing to let us know that it's close to finishing its cycle. Here we go. And we heard it. We saw the lens move to focus and took the picture and advanced the film. So now if we look at the film counter on top, we're up to number 4. And this is probably a good time to just look at this quartz date feature. I'm going to use this little tool again to push these buttons. Now if I hit this one called mode right here, we see it brings up a date, 9811 for January 1st, 1998. Well, that's a long time ago. So let's see if we can get that up to the current time. So I'm going to hold the mode button down. The 98 starts flashing, and now if I push the set button, we can watch that go up. Now we're already up to, ooh, it started to run away there. Like the little button got stuck in. Okay, now we're going 5, 7, 10, 11, 12, 7, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So here in the year 2025, when I'm filming this, the calendar will still work. See how many more years we've got. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and back to 98. So the calendar in this camera will work up through the year 2030. So we have about 5 years left as of right now. And similarly to how we set the year, we can push this mode button, and then now we can set the month, and then you can hit that again, then you can set the date, and then you can go back and push the mode and you can set the time and push the mode again, and then it will display it. Here you've got year, month, date, or you can have month, date, year, or date, month, year. I forgot whether I set that, but you can have any of those combinations that you want, or you can have something with just the clock there, and maybe that's the date, or you can shut it off and have just dashes. So anyway, I just wanted to show that that part of the camera does work. And so I think I've shown most of what I wanted to show here, so I'm going to finish off the exposures in here and just shoot off the rest of these. And we can see that the lens is coming up a little bit here to focus. And we're up to picture number 9. I think I've got about 12 on this short little roll. So There, go to 12. Let's try one more. Yeah, that's the end. So now the camera is going into rewind mode, and we'll be able to watch 11, 10, 9, and it will keep rewinding until all the film is safely back over into the canister over here. So we're going to go 3, 2, 1, and then it'll run a little while. Then we hear the film break free like we just did. So now all the film is over here, and then eventually the motor will stop, the E will flash, meaning that now it's safe to open up the camera and remove the exposed film. So I'm just going to slide the cover shut here and then go back to the end, open this up, and just as expected, all the film is back in this canister, and if this were a good roll of film, then we could send that in for processing. We're not going to do that. I should mention that I did run a real roll of film through here. It was an expired roll from about 2008, and I processed it myself using chemistry I bought online, and I did a really poor job. I used to develop black and white film, so I know a little bit about what you've got to do when you're doing that, but I did get images on the film, and so and they're all spaced out nicely, so it proves that the camera does work. It's really difficult to make sure that you get negatives perfectly clean before you try to print them, because if you don't, you get a lot of spots and things in your pictures, and I wasn't very careful about that. I just wanted to prove that the camera works, and I did. Along with this camera, we have the box, and this is kind of exciting. It's nice to have that. It is the Infinity Stylus Epic Zoom 80 with quartz date, just like what we just looked at. The box has a bit of wear and tear here on the corners and things, but it's there. It's torn there. And inside, if we open this up, we can pull out the manual. And so this is the manual for this camera. Everything you need to know about it in several languages, it's in here. But English is in there as one of them, I believe. I hope. Let's see about that. E, English. Where is English? Oh, okay, it's kind of like parallel. English, French. It's like German, Spanish, and Chinese, I guess, huh? Well, anyway, so that's there. Got all the instructions. Some more paperwork down in this box. A little envelope with something here. Get that out. And in here we have this. Some just general Olympus stuff. Yeah, so whatever that's worth, that's in there. And it all goes together. Like that. I'm going to drop the camera in. Did I get that? I want to get that battery out before I put this away, since that battery is not included in the sale. I should point out that these cameras were often just shoved into pockets. They're a very pocket-sized camera, and a lot of them are found in quite worn-out condition, or well, not worn out, but a lot of wear on the surface, and especially like on this leading edge that's going into the pocket. This one really looks quite nice. Even on the sharp edges, it's not worn through very much that I see on these places. I notice there's some scuffing here on the back, which is very common. I'll get that in the light so that shows. But this is actually much nicer than most of these that I've seen. And so with that, we're going to put it back in the box, along with the strap. And this will all be packaged carefully when I ship it. I'm just showing that it all fits in here for now. close that up. And there we have it. Fairly nice example of the Olympus Infinity Stylus Epic Zoom 80 quartz date camera, film tested, working, and hopefully you've just seen almost everything you need to know about how to use it. Thank you for watching.